to be able to speak and guide on this amazing topic and speak to all of us as educators and make us understand how this interesting idea of Aatmanirbhar Bharat relates to us. How do we connect with it and how can we contribute to it? We look forward to understanding this from Dr. Varadraj Bapat, today's speaker. It is said by Mrs. Indira Gandhi, a nation's strength ultimately consists in what it can do on its own and not in what it can borrow from others. When it comes to self-reliance, I think teachers know the best. You cannot create a self-reliant country unless and until each and every child who grows out to be a citizen of this country develops as a self-resilient, as a resilient and a self-reliant individual. Aatmanirbhar Bharat translates to self-reliant India or self-sufficient India. This campaign or a policy formulated by the Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, for making India a bigger and more important part of the global economy, pursuing policies that are efficient, competitive, and resilient, and being self-sustaining and self-generating. Aatmanirbhar Bharat doesn't mean self-containment or isolating away from the world or being protectionist. The first mention of this came in the form of Aatmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan or Self-Reliant India Mission during the announcement of India's COVID-19 pandemic-related economic package on 12th May, that is about 7 months back. Now, let us know about our wonderful speaker for the day, Dr. C.A. Varadraj Bapat ji, a faculty in finance, SJM School of Management, Mumbai. After completing chartered accountancy with an all India rank, Dr. Bapat pursued a PhD in finance from IIT Mumbai. He has authored several books and presented and published his research papers in international and national conferences and journals. He spent a term at Cornell University, New York. He is also a member on the board of governors, IIT Guwahati, All India Management Board, AICTE. He is a member of the National Executive Council of Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad. Dr. Varadraj is also a yoga teacher. Welcome to Dr. Bapat. We are looking forward to understanding this amazing concept and why do we need it in this era of globalization? What's the philosophy behind it? What is Swadeshi and how does it connect with Aatmanirbhar Bharat? What is Bharatiya economics and what is ethical business in connection to Aatmanirbhar Bharat? So friends, without any further ado, I would now request our speaker for the day, Dr. Bapat, to take it over from here. Over to you, sir. Once again, a warm welcome and gratitude from Dr. Jaya Parekh, the principal of Ram Ratna International School, on behalf of the entire Ram Ratna International School family. Over to you, sir.
Namaste to everyone.
Namaste, sir.
And thank you so much for inviting me. I have already visited Ram Ratna School many times and know Keshav Srishti very well. So I was delighted to accept any invitation from the school.
We are honored, sir.
But after accepting the invitation, I came to know about this talk series, and I felt really honored that I'm also one of the speakers in the series, because many such initiatives were taken up by many institutions, but I think very few would have lasted this long because enthusiasm dies down after 5 or 10 sessions. But I'm very happy, and I'm happy to know that I'm talking in front of teachers, because as we all know, teachers have the capacity to influence their students and through students the society. That is why this humble attempt to talk mainly about philosophy behind Aatmanirbhar Bharat. When the Prime Minister announced this scheme on the backdrop of pandemic, usually media reported about 20 lakh crore package, ये scheme है, वो scheme है, mainly the monetary aspect of it. Monetary aspect maybe you can see from various government websites, so I'll not go much into it. What I'll try to talk about is what is the philosophy behind it. Because as teachers, I think you all would be interested to understand कि गवर्नमेंट ने यही स्कीम क्यों लाया है, what will be the impact of it, not only just immediate impact, but what is likely or planned as a long-term impact. So I'll go to my presentation.
Sure, sir.
Yeah, is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Great.
Yes, sir.
So this is a very good logo of Aatmanirbhar Bharat as promoted by government, culturally connected to Bharat, but wings spread over or wanting to spread over the whole globe. So Modi ji also talked about be vocal for local for a better kal. So it is not just a talk or just a package. It is an attempt at changing the mentality of the people. So I'll talk about these things in next 30-40 minutes as to what is the package, what is the philosophy behind it, the prominent economic thoughts, that is communism versus capitalism, about communism, about capitalism, and then is there a third way, and thoughts of few important Indian thinkers about it. So we know that post COVID, global economy is undergoing a turmoil, and there are going to be major long term changes. So also for Indian economy, it's a challenge for all the human beings. In that backdrop, when Modi ji talked about Atmanirbhar Bharat, naturally a question पूछा गया कि when the whole world is moving towards globalization, ये आत्मनिर्भर वगैरह बोलने की क्या आवश्यकता है, उसका रिलेवेंस क्या है. So as Jayaji has already told in her initial few lines, कि this is not to close our economy, but this is to gain enough strength so that we globalize from a strong platform. And it should not happen that others are taking advantage of our weaknesses. So it is an attempt to be Atmanirbhar, make Bharat a strong nation. Though the package involves lot of giving away, जैसे कई लोगों को खाना दिया जा रहा है, कई लोगों को farmers को particularly there are some pension or some money being given, but keep in mind that this is more an attempt for long term reforms, and to understand those reforms, change in the mindset is very important, because it is not that everything government can do. As citizens, and more importantly as teachers, we should also be playing our role. जैसा मैंने शुरू में बताया, मैं पैकेज के बहुत ज्यादा डिटेल्स में नहीं चाहता हूं, but just in 3 words, it is a major push for infrastructure, especially जहां डेवलपमेंट नहीं हुआ है वहां डेवलपमेंट हो, हमारे बॉर्डर एरियाज में अच्छे रोड हो, बाकी एरियाज में भी अच्छा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलप हो, ऐसा इसमें प्रयास है. It is an attempt to encourage एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप, हमारे पास इतनी बड़ी यूथ पावर है, ये युवक नौकरी मांगने वाले नहीं तो नौकरी देने वाले हो, दे शुड बिकम एंटरप्रेन्योर्स, ऐसा प्रयास है। एंड स्वदेशी का प्रयास है, वेयर we will move away from our craze for something foreign, something coming from abroad, and rather take pride in our products or our language or our culture, at the same time making a commitment to improve ourselves. This is in short the packages. Now let us discuss about the philosophy behind it. So it is mainly Western versus Bharatiya economic thoughts. We know that there are two major economic models followed in last 200 years, that is capitalism and communism. About 1770, after industrial revolution, big businesses arose and capitalism became an economic policy, especially in England, France, and European countries. And there was extensive extraction in the capitalism. Firstly, there was extraction of labor. People had to work for 18 hours, no weekly holidays, nothing, no benefits. Extraction of consumers and extraction of colonies. India was also one of the colonies, and many countries in Asia, Africa, America, they were looted like anything. Lot of capital, raw materials were taken away, and finished goods were dumped on the colonies. Their economy was destroyed, and at the cost of that, so-called developed countries could develop themselves. Now, in response to this extraction, philosophy of communism or Marxism was put forth. It talked about Shoshan Mukti, end of extraction, and Samanata, equity. Of course, ये दोनों स्लोगन्स काफी अट्रैक्टिव थे, स्पेशली वर्कर्स या गरीब लोगों के लिए हमेशा अट्रैक्टिव होगा. एंड दिस इज अ typical pattern, as inevitable pattern as Marxists call it, starting from basic communism, then socialism, ultimately moving to communism. Marxism says that all economies have to move and they will move in this direction. As the communism was put forth, many times it was felt that industrialized nations like France or UK might become communist countries at one point of time. But post First World War, we all know it was Russia which became communist in 1918 or 19, and within 3 to 4 years they acquired countries around them to become USSR. This is a world map that shows vast amount of geography which was in the communist control in their best days. You can see two colors here, saffron and red. Saffron are the countries which are no longer communist. Red, very few countries which are still communist. So we know there are only 2 or 3 countries today, perhaps China, North Korea, and Cuba, which are communist on paper. They have a communist dictatorship, but even their economic policies are no longer communist. So communism, which talked about equity, talked about end of extraction, but it also meant destruction of culture. सारे धर्म और परंपरा नष्ट किए गए. Human values were denied to most of the people. There was no equity in real life. So almost all communist countries are dictatorship by few people. Several people were killed. There was practically no growth, and they were one of the most poor countries. More than 10 crore people have been killed by communist states. This is the killing of their own people. This is from Cambodia, in USSR, China, Cambodia, and almost all communist countries, large scale violation of human rights and killing of people. So there was a long Cold War from 20s to 1990, almost 70 years. And people often felt that there will be a third world war, but it never happened. From inside, in 1990, communist countries started collapsing from within, and within 2 to 3 years, most of the countries gave up communism. So when communism was almost finished as an economic philosophy, it was assumed that the other player, that is capitalism, has won. But capitalist countries themselves are facing lot of internal contradictions. Capitalism is more or less today converted into obsessive consumption. So you have to go on shopping and shopping and go buy with so many hands. This is what is shown in this cartoon. We know that on 9/11, there was an Islamic terrorist attack in US, and Bush was the president at that time. He appealed to the people to go shopping and take vacations. This shocked many people because the country was in trouble. Normally, you would expect the leader to appeal to sacrifice, come forward and do something for the nation. But here, president is urging people to go shopping and take vacations, because unless you spend, economy can't survive. This is the reality of capitalist nations. This is one more cartoon which says that first you have to remove your head and put it in the shopping bag, and then go on shopping. Even if you don't have money, you should buy. That is what is capitalism teaches us. The original problems of capitalism continue even today. So there is inequality. There is a growing inequality. This is known as a capitalist pyramid, where poor are huge in number, facing so many problems, and rich and super rich continue to become poor and continue to enjoy. The capitalism, which started with market economy, converted into market society, and ultimately to market family. This chasing of money and the greed has destroyed the family system in most of the developed nations. In US, more than 50% of children born to under 30 women are out of wedlock. This is in 2012. The number has increased today. This shows divorces. Right in 80s, the divorce rate had almost touched 50%, and today it is more or less stagnant. The real story is here because the number of marriages are consistently falling for last 30 years. So the marriage system is in big trouble. Similarly, is data in UK, where BBC quotes that there are more households with TVs than with fathers. This is the average persons per household in US, latest data of 2018. You can see the largest component, this blue, is 34%, is one person household, followed by two persons household, which is 27%, and very few households with 5 or 6 persons. So the family system is shrinking. If we look at a global comparison, you can see that US average family size is only 2.7. India, it continues to be 4 and 4.5. Of course, ours is also dropping. We are also following a capitalist system. But the countries which have complete capitalism for a longer period are facing more problem. Increase in crime. Most of the crimes, whether it is killings, whether it is rapes, whether it is corruption, are very high in capitalist countries. You will see high rate of GDP, per capita incomes are high. मनुष्य के पास बहुत पैसा है, लेकिन क्या मनुष्य आनंदी है? अनफॉर्चुनेटली इसका आंसर नेगेटिव है. There is a high prevalence of mental disorders, substance use, alcohol use, high level of anxiety, psychosomatic diseases like diabetes, blood pressure, depression, more number of suicides. All this shows that human society is not becoming happier. We know recently we were shocked by suicide in Amte family. So India is also facing these problems in rising numbers. So as human beings are becoming more greedy, maybe they have more money, but the happiness is going down. So Bhutan came out with Bhutan Happiness Index. I think rather than changing GDP, we should follow our culture and try to increase our happiness. This shows population coverage of prevalence data of common mental disorders. You can see US, Australia, and many European nations with a darker or reddish colors. So though we don't know cause effect, but we can see that there is a strong association with higher incomes and higher mental disorders. Health consumption is also high in most of the developed nations. We know that nature and ecology is being destroyed like anything. Very high level of pollution. This shows ecological footprint, sometimes also called as carbon footprint. So if earth resources are naturally generated at one, how much human beings consumes? If you consume exactly one, earth will remain green. But if you consume 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, to that extent, nature gets destroyed. We can see the countries in red or in darker colors having much more ecological footprint. This is a older data, 2005. If we see latest data, 2018, we can see many more countries much more dark. Consumption is more than 9 times in the so-called developed nations. So human being is destroying the nature, destroying biodiversity, destroying ecology, mostly because of greed, which is promoted by capitalist economic system. So the sustainability is a big question mark of this type of lifestyle. There are also economic consequences, like the saving rates have gone down. This is from US, where they went down from 10% to less than 1%. There is a high household debt, क्योंकि कैपिटलिज्म ये सिखाता है कि आप स्पेंड करो, पैसा नहीं है तो लोन लेके स्पेंड करो, क्रेडिट कार्ड पे स्पेंड करो, हाउसिंग लोन लो, जो टाइप का लोन मिल सकता है वो लो, बट कीप ऑन स्पेंडिंग मोर मनी. So there is a high household debt in most of the high income economies like Britain, Canada, US, and so on. You can see India, Russia much on a lower side. So household debt is also high. So we can easily find that communism has collapsed. That does not mean capitalism is creating a strong and happy society. Capitalism also is facing a deep problem. So पूरा विश्व ये ढूंढ रहा है कि इसका ऑल्टरनेटिव कोई है क्या? Is there a third way? We being a long sustained culture, Bharat has a responsibility to present that third way. So if we look at world economic history, this is a chart presented by Angus Madison, who conducted a detailed study at the instance of Organization of Economically Developed Nations. So basically ये यूरोपियन और अमेरिकन नेशंस ने बनाया हुआ चार्ट है, not that we have made it. And they started a priori with the assumption that Europe will be much more richer than third world countries. But the data shows that they have studied only from 00 to 98, that in 00, India had 33% share in world GDP. By 1000, also the share was 29%. After that, India was attacked first by Arabs, then Afghans, then Mughals, and our share kept on reducing. Still, our share was almost 25% up to 1700. But during British period, our share went down from 25 to 4%. And it is the same colonial period. Western Europe increased its share. During First and Second World War, US also increased its share. Similarly, in China also there is a decline. So we can see that Indian story is not a story from rags to riches. We were already a very prosperous economy, and we are trying to re-establish ourselves. While for Western economies, they always need inflows from outside, even to sustain their current lifestyle. So, India does have a sustainable track record of prosperity. Data 2000 वर्ष बता रहा है. Actually, we know it's for thousands of years. India was a very prosperous and a developed nation as per our scriptures. Definitely this prosperity, and that too not for 3, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years or 50 years. It's a sustained prosperity. It's backed by Indian economic thinking. सो ये थिंकिंग क्या है? यही इकोनॉमिक थिंकिंग आत्मनिर्भर भारत के पीछे है, एंड इट विल बी गुड इफ वी अंडरस्टैंड and if we try to live it in our day-to-day life. So in short, I have tried to put it here that Western thought process is materialistic, while Indian economic thought is holistic. Western lifestyle is about comforts, whereas ours is about ananda or happiness. Western processes और सोसाइटी इज इंडिविजुअलिस्टिक, हर कोई अपने खुद के फायदे के लिए जो करना है कर रहा है, whereas Bharatiya is more of a collective. A collective can be society, it can be a samaj, it can be a village, and ideally it should be the whole nation or whole of Parmeshji, but it is generally collective in nature. Basis of Western civilization is competition. हमें आगे जाना है तो दूसरे को पीछे खींचो. Many of you would have seen Three Idiots. Three Idiots में वो एक डायलॉग आता है जिसमें ये बताया जाता है कि अगर आगे जाना है तो दूसरे को पीछे खींचो. I think you would have remembered virus by now. While Bharatiya process is more of sahakarya or cooperation. Let us become prosperous, let us become happy together. That is an Indian economic thinking. यहां पे वही थोड़ा और डिटेल में बताया है that Western society is right conscious, that this is my right, but not worrying about duties. Whereas Bharatiya society or Hindu model is duty conscious, कि ये मेरा धर्म है, मैंने करना है, automatically it will take care of others' rights. In Western world, man is considered as a mere material being, whereas in Indian psyche, it is not just material, it is physical, mental, intellectual, and spiritual being. In Western, the society is viewed as a club of self, while in Indian system, Purna Samaj Purush is considered as a one living entity and individuals are its limbs or its parts. Western society is about exploitation of nature. Indian society is about milking the mother nature. So you can take from nature, but don't kill it. In Western society, it talks about obsessive consumption. Indian thought process is more about restrained consumption. In Western societies, एक्विजिटिवनेस है, मुझे ज्यादा से ज्यादा लेना है और मेरे पास दबा के रखना है. In Indian thought process, it is more about aparigraha or non-possession. I'll take only as much as I need. हम थोड़ा सा भारतीय अर्थ चिंतन क्या है समझने का प्रयास करते हैं. भारतीय अर्थ चिंतन में वेल्थ इज गिवन अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट प्लेस. ऐसा नहीं है कि आप समृद्ध मत बनो, आप पैसा नहीं अर्न करो. यू शुड अर्न, but should earn in an ethical way. Many of you would have heard about Shri Sukta. It's a part of Rigved in the honor of Shri or Lakshmi. So we have given very important place to wealth and prosperity. But it talks about ethical ways. So उसमें ये उल्लेख आता है कि लक्ष्मी अनपगामिनी. सो मुझे लक्ष्मी चाहिए कैसी, जो मुझे नीचे लेके जाने वाली न हो. Means if I use unethical means to earn money, it will push me down. It will ultimately destroy me as a human being. So I don't want unethical ways to earn money. और एक उल्लेख ऐसा है, मनस काममा कुतिम वाच सत्यमशी महीम। सो काम या एंजॉयमेंट मुझे चाहिए, वॉट एवर आई विश आई शुड गेट, बट वाचा विल बी सत्य। सो सत्य के आधार पर मैं भोग भोग सकता हूं, इस तरह का उसमें उल्लेख है। इंडियन थॉट प्रोसेस इज अबाउट त्याग और कंट्रोल्ड कंजम्पशन। मेनी ऑफ यू वुड हैव हर्ड दिस reference or this verse from Ishopanishad, which says Ishavasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjitha ma gruda kasyasvid dhanam. So the second line, which is relevant here, that yes, you can enjoy, but you renounce and then enjoy. So give to others and then you take it also for yourself, and never have lust for other person's wealth. मराठी मध्ये तुम्हाला माहिती आहे की संत तुकाराम ये कहते हैं, जोडोनिया धन उत्तम व्यवहारे उदास विचारे वेच करी. सो जोडोनिया धन, यस, आप पैसा कमाओ बट अच्छे मार्ग से, उत्तम विचार से. व्हेन यू स्पेंड, उदास विचारे वेच करी. सो आप उदास रहिए, यू ओनली स्पेंड एज मच एज नीडेड. So we have four purusharthas: dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Western processes are generally only the middle two, artha and kama. Make money and try to enjoy. Whereas Indian system says, yes, make money, enjoy, but within the limits of dharma and moksha. आपके कर्तव्य, आपका जो धर्म है उसका पालन करिए, एंड ध्यान में रखिए दैट अल्टीमेटली यू वांट टू गो टू मोक्ष, यू वांट टू गो टू इटर्नल हैप्पीनेस विच इज बियॉन्ड दिस पोजेशंस. थोड़ा सा और चिंतन, ये भागवत पुराण का रेफरेंस है जिसमें थोड़ा स्पेसिफिक लिखा है दैट टोटल इनकम शुड बी डिवाइडेड इनटू 5 पार्ट्स. 1 पार्ट फॉर धर्म ओरिएंटेड नीड्स, आपके कर्तव्य करने के लिए. एक पार्ट कंटिजेंसी के लिए 20% रखिए. फ्लरिशमेंट ऑफ बिजनेस या कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर के लिए 20% रखिए. 20% स्वयं के लाइवलीहुड के लिए, एंड लास्ट 20% फॉर द वेलबीइंग ऑफ फैमिली एंड रिलेटिव्स. सो टोटली वन शुड ओनली स्पेंड 40% ऑन वन सेल्फ, कीप रिमेनिंग either for capital expenditure or for society. This will bring in a sustainable prosperity or Shubha Labh as it's called. This economic process also has given Indian business thought. सबसे पहले तो है कि कर्मयोग सिखाता है. So seek satisfaction from the work, not from rewards of work. क्योंकि वेस्टर्न सिस्टम विच इज मोटिवेशन ड्रिवन, सक्सेसफुल पर्सन को इंसेंटिव मिलता है, बट अनसक्सेसफुल पर्सन डिप्रेशन में चला जाता है. Whereas Indian system says that get the satisfaction from the work, rewards will follow, but you don't look at the reward, you concentrate on your work and get happiness from it. भारतीय अर्थचिंतन में कई विशेषताएं हैं. हमारे यहाँ बहुत प्राचीन काल से बैंकिंग सिस्टम काफी डेवलप था. कैपिटल वाज अवेलेबल. रिमेंबर, दिस वाज नॉट अवेलेबल इन जूइश, क्रिश्चियन और मुस्लिम सोसाइटीज, बट इन इंडियन इकोनॉमिक थॉट इज वेरी मच प्रो बिजनेस. इट एम्फसाइजेस ऑन दान और चैरिटी. सो आप बहुत पैसा कमाइए, बट डोंट फॉरगेट टू गिव बैक टू सोसाइटी, एंड ऑलवेज remember to use ethical ways only. थोड़ा सा अर्थचिंतक देखते हैं. आपने चाणक्य जी का नाम तो जरूर सुना होगा, जिनका बहुत ही फेमस पुस्तक है अर्थशास्त्र. जिसमें पब्लिक फाइनेंस, स्ट्रैटेजिक थिंकिंग, गवर्नेंस, वेलफेयर स्टेट, रेगुलेशन, अकाउंटिंग, ऑडिट, ऐसे बहुत सारे विषयों में डिटेल्ड इंफॉर्मेशन दिया हुआ है. एंड it is very much an ethical empire but a prosperous and a strong empire. चाणक्य नीति में ये लिखा गया है, सुखस्य मूलम धर्मः, धर्मस्य मूलम अर्थः. सो सुख का मूल धर्म है. सुख चाहिए तो धर्म फॉलो करिए, किंतु धर्म का मूल अर्थ है. अर्थ को बहुत महत्व दिया है. अर्थ का मूल राज्य है. आपको अच्छा गवर्नेंस चाहिए. अच्छे गवर्नेंस का मूल इंद्रिय जय है. And Indriya Janasya Jayasya Moolam Vinayaha. Humility is a mool of everything. Coming more to modern times, Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar has very much written on Bharatiya Artha Chintan. His first thesis in 1915, presented to Columbia University, was titled Ancient Indian Commerce, wherein he has given a detailed elaboration of Indian commerce, business, trade in the ancient times, then commercial relations of India in Middle Ages, ट्रेड रूट्स किस तरह से भारत के ऊपर मिडिल ईस्ट और यूरोप डिपेंडेंट था, इसका बहुत अच्छा वर्णन है. और उनके बहुत सारा इकोनॉमिक राइटिंग है, बट पर्टिकुलरली जो लास्ट उनका एक आर्टिकल है, that is Buddha and Marx, which he wrote in 1956, बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है, जिसमें भीमराव अंबेडकर ये कहते हैं कि even if Soviet Russia is successful, it can at max fatten the pigs. बहुत क्रिटिकल लिखा है उन्होंने कि even if communism is successful, remember later on it was proved that communism तो फेल था, बट 56 में ऐसा माहौल था कि कम्युनिज्म इज अ वेरी गुड मॉडल. बट उन्होंने बोला कि मार्क्सिज्म या कम्युनिज्म इकोनॉमिकली सक्सेस हुआ भी तो भी वो एट मैक्स फैट पिग्स बना सकता है. बट ह्यूमन बीइंग इज नॉट अ पिग. अपार्ट फ्रॉम मनी वी नीड धम्मा, we need culture, we need character. That's why I'm going for the path of Buddha rather than Marx. महात्मा गांधी जी ने भी काफी लिखा है, जिसमें उन्होंने सिंपल लिविंग और स्वदेशी पे जोर दिया है. एंड एनी इकोनॉमिक्स दैट हर्ट मॉरल कैन नॉट बी सस्टेनेबल एंड शुड बी गिवन अप. दीनदयाल उपाध्याय जी ने एकात्म मानव चिंतन का बहुत अच्छा विचार रखा है, जिसमें उन्होंने बोला है कि इंडिविजुअलिज्म, सोशलिज्म, कैपिटलिज्म ये सब छोड़ते हुए, इनमें से सिर्फ रिलेवेंट पार्ट लेते हुए हमें भारतीय चिंतन पर आधारित डिसेंट्रलाइज्ड एंड सेल्फ रिलायंट इकोनॉमी बनानी है. अंत्योदय का विचार इन्होंने दिया. और अंत में महर्षि अरविंदो ने यह कहा था कि इंडिया शैल राइज अपॉन द रूइंस ऑफ द वेस्ट, एंड टुडे वी सी दैट to a great extent that is happening. And post COVID, I am sure after 5 to 10 years, भारत फिर एक बार समृद्धता से उभर कर आएगा, किंतु भारतीय चिंतन पर आधारित ये होगा. ये रेफरेंसेस है कुछ. प्रोफेसर कनक सभापति जी का एक पुस्तक है, प्रोफेसर आर वैद्यनाथन है IIM बेंगलोर के प्रोफेसर, जिनका एक पुस्तक है इंडिया अनइनकॉर्पोरेटेड, जहां पे एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप और स्मॉल बिजनेसेस को इलेबोरेट किया है. हम IIT बी में कोर्स चलाते हैं इंडियन बिजनेस एंड फाइनेंशियल मॉडल्स, जिसमें भी हम भारतीय चिंतन पे बताते हैं. CAS Gurumurthy ji has written lot of articles on this. Then some of the Western sources include Too Big to Fail and Inside Job. This book and documentary is about global economic problems. And शूमाकर जी ने एक बहुत अच्छा कंसेप्ट लिखा, स्मॉल इज ब्यूटीफुल, एंड ही कॉल्स इट बुद्धिस्ट इकोनॉमिक्स. which is nothing different from Bharatiya or Indian economics. So with this, I stop presentation. अभी हमने भारतीय अर्थचिंतन, भारतीय व्यवसाय चिंतन का थोड़ा सा विचार किया. Atmanirbhar Bharat has brought in many schemes which are based on this. अंत्योदय पे आधारित जो डायरेक्ट बेनिफिट ट्रांसफर आज बहुत सारे गरीबों को हो रहा है, so that they get minimum needs. At the same time, effort has been made through various schemes like मुद्रा कि भारतीय जगत, भारतीय उद्योग स्ट्रांग हो. वी वोकल फॉर लोकल बोला गया है क्योंकि हमारी अर्थव्यवस्था तभी स्ट्रांग होगी when we start consuming our own things. We have to emphasize on Swadeshi, but it's not a blind Swadeshi that हर कोई चीज भारत में आज से ही बनेगी. That's not possible. I don't think mobile phones are available today. For high end something like Rafale, we can't say India में ही बनेगा. What is not available we should import, but what is available within India or when we manufactured in India should be manufactured in India. उसके लिए मेक इन इंडिया पे जोर दिया है, sometimes from a foreign company, but if it is available from an Indian company we should go for it. I'll give an example of chocolate towards the end कि आपका मुंह थोड़ा सा मीठा हो जाए. We can buy an imported chocolate. That's I think worst thing. We should not do it. Little better is chocolate made in India but by a foreign company, something like Cadbury's. Still better is made in India and by Indian company, ताकि profit भी भारत में रहे, something like Amul. Still better would be chocolate made in our local area. हमारे ही गांव में या हमारे ही वस्ती में बहुत सारे लोग बना सकते हैं. Why can't we use that? Why should we go for a branded one? And of course the best is if we make it at home. That's the highest level of Swadeshi. So वो levels में जहां जहां जो जो संभव है, but at least for consumer goods I think we should try to go for Indian products, but don't restrict it to products. It is also about Bharatiya Bhasha. It is also about Bharatiya Sanskriti, Bharatiya Vastra. जहां जहां हो सके we should take pride on our culture, but never use downgraded technology. Technology should be high end, किंतु संस्कृति, विचार और चरित्र जरूर हमने भारतीय रखना चाहिए. I think this is a very practical way of adopting Swadeshi, Make in Bharat, which is being promoted by government in Atmanirbhar Bharat. But we as teachers all should also take it ahead. With this, I will once again thank all of you and stop here. We have about 10 minutes, so I would be very happy to take your questions. Namaste, Dhanyavad.
May I ask a question, please?
Yes, sure.
So, sir, you made a very interesting point about how we should encourage production within the country and use Indian products. What I've noticed is that in the past couple of decades, the quality of products definitely deteriorated. Earlier, I thought, it was maybe lack of resources or facilities. But now slowly we are discovering that this is a deliberate part on the industry's strategy to not make products that would last long, so that the buying and using cycle continues. मुझे याद है हम लोग जब छोटे थे हमारा फ्रिज मेरे ख्याल से और कुछ नहीं तो 25 साल चला था, लेकिन आजकल हम ही लोगों ने पिछले 25 साल में कुछ नहीं तो 5 फ्रिज तो बदल लिए. So this be a deliberate intent. So is there some way that at the consumer level, this awareness can be brought about, and at the business level, does the Indian economic thought have anything to address it? One is definitely, you said ethics. You are compromising on ethics when you're deliberately making something which will not last long. So, can the world leaders, business leaders be influenced through Indian philosophy to change this mindset? या एप्पल का जो वो है ऑब्सोलीट ऑब्सोलेंस डेलिबरेट, ये सबको क्या हम भारतीय बदल सकते हैं?
अनुपमा जी का क्वेश्चन और कमेंट दोनों बहुत अच्छे हैं। मैंने अपने प्रेजेंटेशन में जो सस्टेनेबिलिटी पे बोला था कि भारतीय चिंतन ही ऐसा है कि नॉट ओनली 25 years our old houses were made to last for 250 years,
करेक्ट,
बाद में वो 100 हुआ। आजकल तो बिल्डिंग का लाइफ भी 30 to 40 years ही माना जाता है।
करेक्ट,
सो ये भी एक कंज्यूमरिज्म है, पूरे विश्व में है, अनफॉर्चुनेटली भारत में भी है। बट आई थिंक बिजनेसेस आर मोस्टली ड्रिवन बाय कंज्यूमर्स। सो जैसे जैसे ग्राहक एज कंज्यूमर्स, इफ वी डिमांड फॉर लॉन्गर लास्टिंग प्रोडक्ट्स विच रिलेटिवली इंडियंस आर, एटलीस्ट हम सोच तो रहे हैं। सो जैसे कंज्यूमर्स डिमांड करेंगे वो आएगा। कुछ हद तक टेक्नोलॉजी भी एक रीजन था। आपने जो ऑब्सोलिसेंस बोला कि मोबाइल फोन 1-2 साल में पुराने हो जाते हैं बिकॉज न्यू टेक्नोलॉजी कम्स अप, but it's not true for all the products. Unfortunately, it's being dumped in case of many other products also. So I think technology का उत्तर टेक्नोलॉजी से ही आएगा। New technology is coming slowly, wherein we can expect we'll have to make changes, but only the relevant changes. And ultimately thought process के level पे भी हमें बदलाव जरूर लाना पड़ेगा। धन्यवाद।
थैंक यू जी, थैंक यू सो मच।
Thank you, sir, and thanks for this wonderful ma'am, a few more new insights. Sir, somehow I think I got disconnected and people could not hear me. I wanted to tell you that the vastness of the topic, it really surprised me. I never thought that this is so deeply connected to Indian culture, spirituality, ethics, and I think it gives a very broad vision of the kind of education every school should be providing in our country. This should become the vision and mission of the country here in India. What I hear is that my voice is cracking. I hope I'm audible to everyone. I'm just trying to connect it to the role of teachers, and what I see is it's not just about limiting within your subject area of teaching them concepts of math or science or teaching them about history, but it is also about building that critical thinking of becoming an entrepreneur, the resilience of accepting failures, moving ahead in difficult times, accepting challenges, and most importantly, knowing what are your ethics and principles. And that strong sense of nationalism, where you value the local things, you first invest yourself, your time, energy, your skills in developing the local India. Obviously, India is going to become the global superpower as it has been in the past. On glory, it was a raising experience listening to you, sir. If there are other participants, some questions, type in the chat box or please unmute and ask a question.
अमित जी ने एक अच्छा प्रश्न लिया है, and I think Professor Gregory also wants to ask the same thing, that how can we achieve Atmanirbharta in education? A very relevant question for teachers. I don't know exactly in what context, but I am taking two meanings of it. एक तो ये है कि how to bring these topics in education.
Absolutely.
I think that is very important. You might be teaching any subject. Please try to imbibe the mindset that our culture has lot of things to offer to the whole humanity. That does not mean 100% everything Indian hai to acha hi hoga. It needs to be seen in a critical manner. But when 90 things are good, 10 things would be bad also. We should be open about it. आज माइंडसेट के कारण बहुत सारे अच्छे चीज रिजेक्ट किए जाते हैं, बाद में वेस्टर्न वर्ल्ड में रिसर्च होने के बाद वो एक्सेप्ट होते हैं। जैसे प्राणायाम है या हल्दी है, बहुत सारे उदाहरण दे सकते हैं। अपने अपने सब्जेक्ट में अभी योग है, इसीलिए मैंने प्राणायाम बोला स्पेसिफिकली, या ध्यान है, बहुत सारी चीजें हैं अपने अपने विषयों में। मुझे लगता है कि वी विल हैव टू डू रिसर्च ऑन इट, नॉट नेसेसरीली एकदम डीप रिसर्च, बहुत सारे लोग रिसर्च कर रहे हैं, बट वी शुड एटलीस्ट रीड, अपडेट अवरसेल्व्स एंड inform students that so many of Indian things are good, and ये एक जीवन शैली है, we have to bring it in practice, and through education we can do. And second part is our own education in terms of quality, in terms of how we develop our students, should be at a level where world comes to us for education. आज उल्टा है, वो भी largely because of craze, but there was a time when we used to be leaders in the education, and I think new national education policy is trying to make changes in that direction. फिर एक बार वो mindset का issue है, overnight नहीं होगा, it may take 15-20 years, but if we are committed, if we move in that direction, start taking small steps, definitely economic front में as well as education front में, it can definitely go in that direction. धन्यवाद, नमस्ते.
A beautiful answer, sir. You gave a complete clarity. I would just like to add here that teachers must try not to convey every single information that you think the child must have. In fact, you should bring out what the child already knows and just incite inquiry, because an entrepreneur needs to research, needs to think by himself, herself, and it's not always based on a prescribed syllabus that one has to perform. So I think that's where the seed of resilience, critical thinking, logical reasoning, courage can be nurtured. So thank you, Mr. Gregory, Amit sir, and others for their questions. We have some students here. We have some alumni of our school and also the current students. The children, please feel free to ask any questions that you have.
दिव्या जी का बहुत अच्छा कमेंट है. I won't read it, but yes, she has made very good points about holistic development, which we should bring through it. धन्यवाद.
Thank you, Divya ji, for your contribution, sir.
बापट जी, एक पर्सनल क्वेश्चन पूछ सकती हूँ, क्या आप पवई बेस्ड हैं?
Yes, I am with IIT Pavai. I stay at Thane, but I am with IIT Bombay.
Okay, because today's session was so insightful and interesting that I'm also based in Powai, and I really want to sit with you, pick your brains anytime. If you can share your mail ID, maybe I will especially talk to you about how this concept can be cascaded with children, especially youngsters, in the age group of 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Who strongly think that use and throw is the way to go if we want economies to thrive. I don't say it's wrong, but the culture is catching on so strongly that for a person like me, it is worrisome. Whether it is laptops or mobile phones or, even iPads, these are things which can be used for 4, 5, 6 years easily. But the culture is changing so fast that how to arrest the tide is something that keeps going on in my head.
You're right, Anipama.
Very rare.
Because
like add to what ma'am asked. What I'm saying is, you also explain how this mentality is connected with how we deal with our relationships, how this use approach has even seeped into the way we treat relationships. When you connect it with number of people or race, I think there is direct connection.
इनफैक्ट बापट जी बोल रहे थे ना कम्युनिटी के बारे में, मेरे दिमाग में यही चल रहा था कि अगर वेस्टर्न कल्चर ये है कि मुझे करना है, मुझे सफल होना है, मुझे ऊपर पहुंचना है, विज़-वी इंडियन कल्चर जहां पर हम सोचते हैं हमें सफल होना है, हमें इकट्ठे रहना है, उसमें भी तो बदलाव आ रहा है. हमारे बच्चे कितने सॉलिटरी होते जा रहे हैं. मतलब आज की तारीख में हमको क्लास में कोलैबोरेशन, कोऑपरेशन करने के लिए एज अ टीचर कितना स्ट्रगल करना पड़ता है. बच्चों में आपस में अनबनी ज्यादा है. हमको ये देखना पड़ता, अरे उसके साथ मित्रता है कि नहीं, उसके साथ झगड़ा तो नहीं है, चलो इनको एक ग्रुप में मत रखो. तो वो बदलाव हमारे स्कूलों में बहुत दिखाई दे रहा है आजकल, और खासकर ऐसे स्कूलों में जहां पर बच्चे मतलब वेल ऑफ इकोनॉमिक बैकग्राउंड से आ रहे हैं,
राइट,
especially if they're one kid at home.
यू आर राइट. जैसे मैंने मेरे स्लाइड में भी लिखा, व्हाट स्टार्टेड फ्रॉम मार्केट इकोनॉमी,
Yes, has become
बाद में मार्केट सोसाइटी, कि आई डोंट बॉदर अबाउट सोसाइटी, मैं तो मेरा देखूंगा. When
correct.
worst is within the family also. I
Correct.
won't bother about mother, I won't bother about my sibling, क्योंकि everybody is individualistic. And हम भले ही वेस्टर्न वर्ल्ड को दोष दे,
हाँ,
इंडिया इज ऑल्सो गोइंग थ्रू इट, बिकॉज
correct.
अल्टीमेटली इट्स अ ग्लोबलाइज्ड वर्ल्ड. एक जगह पे हो गया तो सब जगह पे फैल रहा है. नाउ वी हैव टू सी हाउ वी कैन रिवर्स दैट टाइड, हाउ वी गिव बैक अवर कल्चर. दो वी कॉल इट अवर कल्चर, इट्स अ ग्लोबल कल्चर. ये तो सभी मनुष्य मात्रों को है, हमें सभी को देना चाहिए. Anyway, very good point by Anupama ji. I have shared my email ID in the chat box,
Oh, you
and I
have?
would also be very happy to share the today's PPT with you, because see, I have tried to put something in half an hour. Each of that point needs to be researched. Each of that point needs to be dwelt with in more details. So which you all can do it as teachers. So
पर सर
please
आपने
feel free to
बहुत
share.
अद्भुत तरीके से करा, मतलब इतनी सरलता से, इतनी सहजता से आपने इतनी गूढ़ी बात बताई है आज. आई एम गोइंग टू शेयर दिस आधारशिला टॉक लिंक विद एज मेनी पीपल एज आई नो, इवन इन माय कम्युनिटी, फॉरगेट माय एजुकेटर्स नेटवर्क. बहुत बढ़िया सेशन था डॉक्टर जया. थैंक यू सो मच फॉर सेंडिंग द लिंक टुडे. दिल से थैंक यू.
That thought of thinking in the slide such that there should be a session one particular point of each slide. It was amazing, sir. Amazing. And I think students, the young, especially the commerce, need to understand all the various connections that you have shown. Very, very insightful. People might ignore that, but then how it is entering our homes and every single individual's mentality, how it's being affected. And you have given a perspective, a narrative of not just the current time, how it applies here, but then how things have moved since the past. And the points from Chanakyaneeti and from spirituality and history of India, absolutely bang on, sir. It was an eye-opening, thought-provoking session. I extend my warm greetings on all the participants and the entire Ratna International School family. Forward to your guidance throughout our journey as a school, as an educator's family. Thank you for being in Aadharshila.